So now I want to move in and talk about different types of wheels and how to determine which type of wheels you should get, that type of thing. Nikki Drew Blood is doing some shit in the backyard. So this series of videos has definitely been the same day, but different parts of the day. I don't know if you could tell. I had glasses, now I don't. My hair was different. We were in a different room. It's just been crazy. Now there's a vehicle starting. There are different types of wheels. I have some notes here. So there are 4 things to keep in mind when you are on the market for some new wheels. So durometer is like probably one of your main factors. Then you also got to decide if you want an aluminum hubbed wheel or a nylon hubbed wheel. Then you want to determine what kind of width and height that you want, because there are different widths and heights, and that can make a huge difference. I speak from personal experience with the matter. Then you also want to take into consideration what type of floor you're going to be skating on, whether it be polished wood, unfinished wood, concrete, polished concrete, sport court. There's different types of sport court out there in the world. So you really got to think of all these factors. Some people say weight is a factor. I don't really see that too much. I mean, yeah, maybe a little, but nothing that's going to make or break your decision. So I'm going to go just dive in right now. So I'll show you what I skate right now at my practice venue with my indoor skate setup. We skate on sport court, and it's kind of slick sport court, not super slick. It's actually, I really like the slickness of it. And these are Hyper Witch Doctors. If you haven't been able to tell by now, I'm a very huge fan of Hyper. These are all my Hyper wheels are kind of older stock. So the ones that they have now, same idea, but they are a little different. The formula has changed over the years. But I believe this was the blue Witch Doctor at one point. I know it appears green, but it is old. This is not an aluminum hub. It's just a nylon hub that has a silver finish. This is about a 96 in durometer. 96A is kind of hard. I like my wheels to be a little bit harder. I like to have a little slide when I play. So that's why I skate on a 96 on sport court. Typically, most people can use anywhere from like an 89 to like a 94-ish. I feel like it's about average for sport court, because sport court tends to be slicker. Be a 62 by 42, which means it's 42 millimeters wide, 62 inches tall. So this is the size that I like, this particular size. And this is what they consider a wide. Next wheel I want to show you is very similar to the Hyper Witch Doctor, except this is an aluminum hub. This is the Hyper Shaman. This is the white or the natural, depending on which website you're at. But I really, really love this wheel. I haven't been using this wheel because this is the wheel that I use for polished wood surfaces. So if we have an away game at like a rink that has like a really nice wood floor, that's what I would use these for. Obviously, I haven't used them in a while. There's no... I don't concern myself too much with grooves. Some people really like to have deep speed grooves, or like the speed stripe groove down the middle. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But this is about a 97, so not too far off from the Witch Doctor. These are the same width and height, so you can see that my preference kind of carries over. But that was, see, it's just a small difference. So even though this is a 97, it actually feels maybe a little bit harder than that because it is an aluminum hub. With the nylon hub, you tend to get like a little bit of give to it. So you always got to take that into consideration as well. Probably not enough for you to notice off the rip, but once you start really trying out wheels, you'll start seeing these things. The next wheel I want to show you is what I use for polished concretes or really slick sport court, basically slick surfaces. This is my go-to wheel. So this is the Atom Poison wheel. I really enjoy this for a lot of different things. So basically, if it's not a sticky, grippy surface, and it is more on the slick side. This is what I reach for. Nikki Drew Blood, she has a very similar wheel. It's called the Envy. Same basic wheel, it's just like a blue color. Same formula basically, same dimensions. This one is also the wide. So this, you're also looking at the 62 by 42 in measurements here. So that also carries over. And I do know that Poison also has a narrow option as well. There is what they call a Poison alloy, which basically, instead of having this nylon green section here, there is a cap that on top, which makes it look like an aluminum hubbed wheel, but I want to let you know that it's not an aluminum hubbed wheel. It's just a metal cap on top. I've seen that cap come flying off in the middle of gameplay, so I don't really like those too much. But I do recommend Poisons as just a good wheel to keep in your arsenal of shit. So moving on, this is another really good wheel that is on the less expensive side. This is a radar wheel. This is the flat outs. They also have flat outrageous, but this is an 88A durometer, and this is also the wides. So it is your 62 to 42 millimeter. As you can see, they are very similar. I just wanted to show you guys this because this has that deep speed group down the middle. I know that the radar tuners are like this, and this is very similar to the wheel that tends to come with basic skate packages just right off the rip. Not a bad wheel. The radar tuners are actually what I started off with. I had the pink ones. Not bad wheels to start off with, but I would suggest 6 months to a year you probably need to upgrade, because they don't, the grooves and everything don't tend to last long, and they tend to cone faster. And basically coning means when you're skating hard, this tends to taper down. So this stays wide and this will start tapering and get smaller and smaller and smaller. Alright, the next wheel I want to show you are the Shore Grip Zombies. Now, everybody I know that has skated on these really likes these. I wasn't a huge fan, but I think it was my own fault. I wanted to try a narrow wheel, and instead of getting just the narrow, I ended up ordering the narrow and short. So instead of being a 62 millimeter by 38 millimeter, I ended up getting the 58 millimeter by 58 millimeter. That's not right. So what I needed to get was the 62 millimeter by 38 millimeter. So let me just show you a size comparison. This is an aluminum hub like I was talking about before, so it's a very good quality wheel. Nikki skates on these and she loves them, swears by them. So let me show you the comparison. So you can see that they are significantly different in size as far as width. There's about 1/4 of an inch there, and then you can definitely tell the height difference, kind of, maybe a little bit. Again, about 1/4 of an inch taller. It does make a huge difference. I feel like you don't get as much power in your crossovers with a teensy little wheel like this. I don't care for the short wheels at all. I feel like you're having to work twice as hard to get the same amount of speed as everyone else is getting, rather than when you just use a wide wheel. You get more surface area to floor, to push and do all the work, you know. So that's the Zombie. The next one, I just wanted to show you guys how versatile wheels can be. This is what I use when I'm skating completely outside, like road. I have no idea how bad the road's gonna be. This is what I go to. And this is actually a Bones skateboard wheel. It's an old vintage skateboard wheel. This is 78. I highly recommend a 78A durometer for like strictly outdoor wheels that you're skating on roads and sidewalks and stuff like that, because they tend to be softer, so they absorb all the shock from bumps and rocks and sticks much easier. Plain game on with this vintage skateboard wheel that I have. It is actually the same size as the Zombies. What I typically end up using my completely outdoor wheels for are like when we skate in parades or if we're going trail skating. So it's not necessarily about having speed. So this size doesn't bother me for outdoor skating because it's usually just leisure skating or skating over freaking cobblestones like we have here in Charleston. A 78A durometer is a very good wheel to have in your toolbox. This is just a really good one. I don't know if you can find these anymore, but it is an old bones skateboard wheel. But you can use skateboard wheels on your skates so long as the dimensions are compatible with your skate. So you see how it has a flat side on one. Most skateboard wheels tend to have a bubble on this side, so you see how it's like curved. Skateboard wheels tend to have that on both sides, so it doesn't exactly, not all skateboard wheels will work with your quads, but there are some like this one where it's got the flat back, curved front that will work fine. So I've talked about the different durometers, the different heights, and the surface application on these wheels. So usually whenever you're going to an away game, the information that is exchanged with their ILC to your ILC is what kind of floor they have. So you always want to make sure you know what kind of floor you're walking into. So if you have a couple of wheels you want to bring with you in case the wheels you normally use are too slick or too grippy, you don't want to be sliding out of your crossovers, which has happened to me before, and you don't want to be feeling like you're skating through sludge. Like, that's the worst, because you're going to get tired faster, you're going to play shitty, you're going to get distracted, you're going to get frustrated, and you might just piss off some of your teammates because you're just frustrated with what's happening with your equipment. So be sure to do your research anytime you go to a new venue and you are skating. Try to find out what kind of floor they have, as much information as possible, so you can gauge on what kind of wheel you think would be best. And don't hesitate to ask skaters that skate on that floor what they use. 9 times out of 10, they're going to let you know what they use. They're not going to be all super sneaky about it. They're not here to like set you up for failure. Some teams might be, but I've never had that experience. So don't hesitate to ask questions when it comes to wheels. In the end all be all, it all comes down to preference.